nasty stuff was kind of a surprise, wasn't it? But I'm so happy to have Audrey here today to talk about her book, Rewired Life. I've known Audrey since she's about this high, and I remember junior high and high school, some of the things that you were going through at the time. So, and I have her book, and I've read it and enjoyed it, and let's welcome Audrey.
Hi, so I'm so excited that you guys came out, like Karen said, in the weather. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be speaking to my mom and Karen, and so this is cool, so thank you all. So like Karen said, my name's Audrey Michel, and I'm an author, a speaker, and a spiritual growth coach. And so here is what we are up to today. If you came to my book reading in January, you know, I shared about the day that I hit rock bottom, and how that day affected me and how I ultimately shifted my mindset. But today we're going to take a step forward and discuss the process I went through to climb out of that hole. So how I healed my mind and my body. So again, what we're going to be discussing here is why I'm so passionate about loving yourself, healing your body and mind, and celebrating life. And we're going to discuss my 3-step process for overcoming stress, anxiety, and overcoming whatever obstacle it is you're up against, big or small. And then we're going to learn a little bit more about how you apply this to your own life. So, question, I want to know how many of you have done any sort of discovery work before, that have worked on any sort of internal wisdom. I'm just curious. Yeah? Cool. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to see where everybody's at and kind of go from there. So here's the deal. I spent 17 years in chronic pain and disease, and after almost 2 decades, I realized I was doing it all wrong. I thought if the pain went away, then I would be happy. So I did everything I could to make the pain go away, from seeing doctors, specialists, taking dozens of pills. Nothing was working, and like I said, I hit rock bottom. And I spent half my life trying to get out of pain, hoping that would, bring me to this eventual goal of, being happy. And it wasn't until I found this internal voice of internal wisdom and started shifting gears that I started to recover and start this journey towards healing. So I wanted to read a little bit from the book here. And it's chapter 5. So I start with a quote from Frederick Dodson from his Parallel Universe of Self book. He says, "An emotion does not cause pain. Resistance or suppression of emotion causes pain." Once the fog lifts, everything became clear. Time has a way of bringing order to chaos. When I was living the chaos of pain and endometriosis, nothing made sense. I was grasping at anything and everything for help. Now it all makes sense. I've learned endometriosis causes many layers of pain, just like an onion. Layer after layer of symptomatic issues, physical pain, lifestyle limitations, limiting beliefs, and trauma tightly wound into a ball of barbed wire, sharply cutting at every move. For me, healing the disease was about discovering these layers of pain, both physically and emotionally. So hitting rock bottom shifted my mindset to loving myself in the current moment, which is so hard when you hate everything about what you're going through. I barely got out of bed because the pain was so bad. But instead of being angry and resentful, I shifted my mind to honoring what it was my body needed and being grateful that I had space to rest. I had to trust that my current moment wasn't going to be my forever moment. So this shift is ultimately what brought me to a place where I am today, living pain and free of the disease I was diagnosed with when I was 14. So now, instead of hating my circumstances and pretending I'm fine, I share my story. And I share my story because I know the freedom within moving past anger, resentment, and fear. Okay, so here's what I learned. Healing isn't about making the pain go away. I had to heal my soul and awaken my soul before any sort of physical healing could occur. Okay, some more from the book. Okay, so the challenging my perspective, I decided to rewire my life. I discovered a new world, a new way of thinking. I had to figure out how to reconnect to myself, to my body, and to my emotions when everything I'd ever done was to shut down the possibility of knowing my body and myself. Okay, so here's the 3-step process I took to heal. First, you must unconditionally love yourself in the current moment in order to heal. And then celebrating every step is crucial. Finding joy and gratitude, even if it looks like today I'm grateful that I'm breathing, or grateful that your cat wants nothing more than to snuggle with you and your husband thinks that these selfies are great. Okay, so let's dig a little bit deeper into these concepts. So we're going to talk about love in 2 different ways. First, unconditional, or in one way. We're just going to talk about unconditional love. Sorry, excuse me. So unconditional love. So this isn't about loving the best parts of yourself and ignoring the parts of yourself that you're, unwanted. This is really about unconditional, right? The good and the bad. So we get into trouble when the highest parts, the best parts of ourselves, we work on and they get better and better, but the crud at the bottom stays the same. So think about it this way. Like I said, unbalanced growth is when we work on ourselves to get better and better and the crud at the bottom stays the same. So the swing and the distance between the two gets greater and greater. So if you've ever experienced this where you're like, oh my gosh, things are going so great, and then you spring back down and it just gets bigger and bigger, and it's so frustrating, right? To feel the highs of the highs and the low of the low, and you're just like, what's going on? So balanced growth looks like when you clean up the crud. So as you're growing, you're also cleaning up the crud, and so the swing between the highs and the lows stays a little bit more, similar. So doing the work to move past these cruddy experiences helps you, like I said, not swing so high from the highs and the lows. It's about cleaning out the crud so the distance between the unwanted isn't so great. Okay. So from chapter 9, it's entitled Cleaning Out Your Mental Closet. So some days I felt strong and willing to keep cleaning out the closet, motivated and inspired. The next day I felt depressed about how far I had to go. One day I laid on the acupuncture table, feeling like hell and exhausted by the whole journey. I couldn't see the end result and questioned if there even was an end. If there was, in fact, a wellness end, I was convinced it was elusive and kept moving further and further away. I sobbed to Christine, my acupuncturist, about how I was disappointed with my current state, questioning whether I was going to ever get any better. Emotions welled up in the back of my throat and my voice shook. Do I have to accept that this is how life is going to be for me? As tears rolled down my face, and she let me have my pity party. Christine's usual silence seemed to drag on forever. After a while, she said, I believe you're going to get better, but I need you to believe it too. Tears soaked my hair. It's so hard, I exhaled. Frustrated, overwhelmed, and stuck in fear and anxiety, I admitted I wanted the journey to be over. I was tired of the roller coaster and tired of being tired. She started telling me how far I had come in the last couple of years, reminiscing about all the milestones I'd passed, and I agreed. The meat grinder, as I called it, of cramps, was gone, but I was still a hormonal disaster and tired. My back hurt, but yes, my overall pain level had subsided. I have moments of being grateful and other moments of annoyance and irritation. Right now, all I see is where I want to be. Christine took a deep breath and replied, I need you to believe that there is an end goal. Even if there's roadblocks and course corrections, your wellness destination is real and attainable. But to be at ease with the roadblock was difficult. I was tired of roadblocks. It sucked to be in the middle of another growth opportunity. I felt like I had taken 41 steps forward and 40 steps back. Who cares if it's one giant step forward? As I felt myself slipping down the rabbit hole of despair, I reminded myself to trust my body and to trust the timing of the universe. I took a couple deep breaths and allowed my body to relax. That's when I realized the gremlins of fear trying to hold me back. As my wellness journey progressed, I was elated when things were going well and depressed when they weren't. Learning to feel joyous, healthy, and happy the highs of feeling joyous, healthy, and happy were really high. But when it didn't last, I felt the rug pulled out from under me, and the tough times became exponentially upsetting. So really for me, the journey to heal was about how do we clear the crud in these low lows. And I started wondering, why is love the first step in this journey? Isn't it heal first and then you can love yourself? But it's really about having empathy for yourself and letting go of that crud. So think about it this way. How do you feel when you're ignored? Maybe angry, resentful, right? Our thoughts and our experiences have that same energy around them. So when we ignore the negative thoughts in our head or experiences, they get the same resentful, angry energy around them. So if you can find the capacity to speak these issues with love and share that vulnerable space with another person, honoring it, you can find you're able to move past those issues quicker. So the story I like to tell is from a client of mine. It's in two different situations, both driving in the car. And as they're headed to wherever they're headed one evening, her husband gets, instead of getting on the freeway, just kind of drives through the neighborhoods, and she was, all irritated, as we tend to get with our husbands when they're like going the wrong way or going the slow way. And but she just let this highlight reel replay in her head about, oh my God, like, where is this guy going? Like, we're gonna be so late. She found herself getting more and more irritated and short with her husband and her kids. And so when we were talking about this situation, we spoke about it in a way of empathy, right? Like, how can you put yourself in his shoes and maybe understand what he's going through, but then also be able to share what's going on for you with him, and trust that he's going to receive that information and show you empathy, right? It's a practice in giving and receiving. And so the next time that this happened, she was able to share with him, right? But share from a place of love instead of anger, and just ask him, like, honey, why are we going this way? Like, why are we not getting on the freeway? It would be so much quicker. And coming from that place of love and not anger was helpful for him to be able to return and be like, you know what, I had a stressful day. I just don't feel like dealing with the freeway, so I'm just gonna go this way. And for the two of them to give and receive empathy and love in that situation, it was over and done with, right? Instead of her mind replaying this situation, her getting more angry and resentful, they were able to just talk about it and then it was over. Like, that was the end of it. And she shared with me that it was so freeing for her to be able to open up and just be, again, share with love, like, honey, why are we going this way? Like, what's going on for you? And anyway, so this place of being able to be vulnerable is freeing. And so this leads me to the next step of the transition between loving yourself and loving your situation. Leads to healing your body and mind. So clearing that crud clears the space. So we're going to talk about healing in two different ways. First, listening to your body and how you do that, and second, nourishment. So after clearing the crud, we have space to heal. So again, to read. The first step in listening to my body was recognizing and learning where to look for emotional stress. I've identified 4 categories for exploring emotional stress, emotional trauma, outside stress, and negative thoughts and beliefs. And I dig more into this in the book, but I just wanted to mention that here. And then read from chapter 15, which is listening to your body. You know how people say listen to your gut? Listening to your body is like that, but on a more intricate and ongoing manner. We tend to reserve listen to our gut for big decisions, but listening to your body is for every moment. I'm constantly noticing and analyzing how I feel in one situation or another, as every sensation and feeling means something. I check in with myself and ask, how am I feeling right now? If I'm feeling good, what am I thinking about? Who am I with? What have I eaten or have I exercised? Just kind of being curious about what's going on. And the same situation the same question applies if I feel not so good. Every moment is an opportunity for feedback and learning. Every moment is an opportunity to be curious and to grow. Our bodies create sensations to communicate where there is emotional, mental, and spiritual pain. Long ignored communications in the emotional body can manifest as pain and or disease. My body had been screaming at me for years to examine thoughts and beliefs around being a woman, around being a mother, and around medical sexual trauma. I ignored my body for far too long. So I wanted to do an exercise in tapping into our internal wisdom, our intuition. Like I said, our bodies act as a message board to our psyche and to our higher self. So this is a really hefty topic and definitely one that I can talk about all day long. But we're going to do a quick exercise to begin to listen to our bodies. So you guys get to play along here. So if you would, just sit with both feet on the ground and close your eyes. We're going to take deep breaths. Okay, so in your next inhale, I want you to make sure you're filling your body with your air. I want you to make sure you're taking deep belly breaths and not shallow chest breaths. You want your stomach to be expanding with your inhale and deflating with your exhale. With your next inhale, I want you to inhale as much as you can. Fill your body with oxygen as much as you can. And when you can't breathe in anymore, see if you can go even further. And then exhale and go all the way to the bottom of your breath, exhaling more than you think you can. So we want to do this a couple times to get balanced in our breath. Inhaling as much as possible and exhaling as much as possible. your next inhale, we're going to begin to notice your body. Begin to scan your body. And I want you to feel where your thoughts originate. So usually I feel this in my forehead, in the frontal conscious part of my brain. So as you continue to breathe and relax, I want you to see if you can get your thoughts to drift to the back of your brain, to the subconscious part of your brain. See if you can get those feelings to drain down the back of your head, down your spine, and into your heart. From this heart-centered space, begin to scan your body. Check in with your body. See if anything is pulling at your attention. From your head to your neck, your chest and your arms, your stomach, your abdomen, your legs and your feet. Again, see if any sensations, if there's any stuckness, if anything is pulling at your attention. And we're just going to notice, we're not going to try to change anything. Now see if this part of your body that's tugging at your attention, see if it has to say anything. If any thoughts come up in this moment, that's usually what your body is trying to tell you about. Next inhale, I want you to keep your eyes closed, but we're going to begin to wake up our body. And we do that by rubbing our hands together, rubbing our arms and legs, and just letting our body know that it's time to get back into action. And then when you're ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes. So this is the participation part of our wellness discussion. Does anybody have anything to share? What came up for you?
Do you want specific, like, as I scan my body?
You can tell me whatever.
Things.
Like where it was stuck, where you felt it?
Oh, like I have a headache right here.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like, is that what you want?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a headache right here on my head. Where headaches come
Okay, so here's what I do. I interpret what your body has to say. So, perfect that you say headache, because you know that's my example.
It's actually, I do remember it would be in your example, but it is real, right here, above my eyebrow. You can nitpick it with your
Thing.
thing.
So the next step now is nourishment. And so these things that are pulling at your body can be interpreted in many ways, but I use the work of Louise Hay. If you've never heard of her, she's amazing, but she's been interpreting the messages that our body have to send since like the 80s. and she's found a ton of overlap. And headaches are the example I like to use because most of us have experienced headaches in our life, right? But headaches are self-doubt. And so it makes perfect sense to me now, thinking about headaches in terms of your workday, right? If you think like late afternoon, if any of you've gotten headaches late afternoon when you're just like, oh my God, there's so much going on. Am I going to get done what I wanted today? Like, what's going on in my home life? What's going on tomorrow? The idea makes perfect sense towards, like I said, towards the end of the day, that your head starts to hurt with this self-doubt. So the question becomes, and the nourishment becomes, what is it that I need? What is it that my body is asking for? So is it asking for you to, cancel the plans that you have for later that night? Is it saying you need to ask for help so you can get all of the things done that you needed that day? Or is it that you need to shift your beliefs that what I've already done today is enough? So to shift out of the self-doubt. So of course, now for you with the headache, examining where that self-doubt is coming from is what'll get you to shift out of the headache. Maybe sleep.
Sleep.
Does anybody else want to share what came up?
I had a sensation in my gut.
Like gut, stomach, or gut in like intestinal, digestional?
More digestional.
So intestines, it kind of depends on large intestine or small intestine, but it's all about letting go, right? Makes total sense. Letting go of the toxins that are in our body is the physical function of the intestine, moving that through our body, but emotionally too. You get sensations or stuckness, and it can even manifest as physical, digestive issues, bowel issues, when it's a chronic inability to let go of whatever it is that you're holding on to. I don't know, right? Anybody else have something that came up that you don't mind sharing?
I have a little achiness in the base of my neck.
So neck is totally flexibility and moving forward with whatever is happening in your life. And if it spills down into your shoulders, especially like this part of your shoulders, not so much this part of your shoulders, it's like feeling like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders, like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Yeah, it's amazing stuff. And so now that I've been working through this stuff for like 8 years now, some things, not all things, but some things I can be like, oh wow, okay, what's going on? And so mine shows up as sticky rib, is where I hold my like stuckness. It goes right here. It'll be the first thing that hurts in my body, and it usually is telling me either I've worn myself out and I need to take a break and do some self-care kind of stuff. I'm doing something I actually don't want to be doing, like my whole body, my whole self, like spiritual soul self. I'm off course. So I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing. Or that there's something in my body that it's trying to tell me something and I'm just not freaking listening. So it'll land right here. But so Louise Hay, this is the best part, says mid-back is lack of emotional support, which usually means internal emotional support, like supporting myself emotionally. And she also divides the body into the left half and the right side of your body. And the left side of your body is feminine energy, which is all about receiving So being able to receive emotional support. And the right side of your body is all about giving. So it's the masculine side is all about giving, outflow energies. So that's the next layer of being able to interpret these things. Like, does your hip hurt on the left or the right? Does your knee hurt on the left or the right? Does your ears hurt? You know what I mean? Which side of the body is coming up. So healing for me was all about, like I said, first listening to my body and finding different techniques of how to listen to my body. So, we did one way, and then not only listening and honoring it, but am I actually doing something about it, or am I ignoring it? Like, it's one thing to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. My body says I need to rest. Are you actually doing it? Or are you being like, okay, yeah, got it, can't do it right now, And sometimes that happens, especially for a mom who's trying to run a household and is tired. Like, I get that that's hard. And for me, what I'm going through right now is I'm trying to launch all this stuff, and I'm not taking care of myself in the way that I'm used to. So my body's tired, sticky rib has something to say. And so at least being able to honor your body and let it know, like, yes, right now I'm wearing you out, but I, truthfully will rest on, Sunday or Monday, or just being able to at least not ignore it completely is my point. So, okay, let's make sure I talked about everything. Okay. So, finally, the third part of my healing process, loving yourself, healing your body and mind, and celebrating life. So this was the really hard part for me, was that I was like, well, I'll be happy when I'm not in pain, and then we'll go on vacation, or whatever I had made up in my mind, right? Of things will be better, and then I'll be happy, and the proverbial carrot in front of the donkey thing that I was doing to myself. So by celebration and joy, I don't always mean throwing a party or going on vacation. I mean celebrating every moment and finding joy and gratitude in every moment. So like I showed the pictures of me and my cat. There were days when I really had to be grateful that today the tea is hot, and that gives me joy today that my tea is hot, even though I'm not getting out of bed, I don't plan on showering, my husband's gonna come home and I'm gonna be in the same spot that I was when he left 8 hours ago. But I got some hot tea, and it's okay. Okay, so celebrating and finding beauty within the everyday. And so here we got a little bit from the end of the book here. So I say, joy and gratitude have helped me notice when energies are positive and easily flowing. I identified the activities that bring happiness and joy and eliminated those that don't. Considering why an activity feels fun, freeing, joyous, etc. was an important part of discovery. I took notes on everything, journaling constantly. I would write when I could feel joy beaming out of me, and that helped to recognize and identify patterns. I kept a gratitude journal by my bed to reflect not only about how I was grateful for the day, but also on the lessons and the gifts within those lessons and struggles. It's a practice of noticing joy, finding hidden gems, and furthering healing, which allowed me to breathe happiness into activities as they were happening. So how can you bring this into your life? We did the breathing exercise, which the exercise of breathing all the way in and exhaling all the way out and filling your body cavity with oxygen is a good way to realign, your chakras and get re-grounded. So that's one thing. And then beginning to notice where in your body is pulling at your attention, right? So beginning to think like, oh, maybe a headache just isn't a headache. Maybe there's more to say here. Maybe this little knee pain is more than just knee pain. What is my emotional body trying to communicate with me? And then again, finding beauty in the everyday and bringing yourself present, back to the present moment, just by, again, noticing what it is that is, beautiful. Like, as you're washing dishes, an example from somebody in my life, washing dishes and noticing that the light is catching the bubbles and making these beautiful rainbows on the bubbles, okay? Can make washing your dishes joyful. And then lastly, I wanted to mention Tuesday kicks off my 6-week online class called Soul Awakening, where we take these 3 steps and we dive into them. 2 weeks of love, 3 weeks of heal, and a week of celebrate. So I'm really excited about that. Like I said, it's online, so there's women from across the country. I've got some women from Canada interested, which is really fun. But I wanted to wrap up and say, this transformational work, like, I believe that adult learning is really unlearning the stuff from, the stuff we learned as a kid and then made true for the rest of our life, right? Like these things as a 3-year-old, we're just like, oh, money is evil, or, it's bad to do this thing or that thing. And then we made it true into our adulthood, which may or may not be true for us, right? So unlearning those things and then relearning the stuff that aligns with us personally is really the work that I am up to and what helped me heal from this disease. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done, but the most valuable thing I've ever done. Like, it was the first time in my life where I was like, oh, this is me. This isn't me on some other drug. This isn't me taking another treatment. Like, I was finally back to center and back to being me. So it was so totally worth it. But that's all I have. So thank you for coming. And yeah, I'll answer questions and sign books, and that's that. So thank you.
Please have refreshments.
Yes, we have brownies and coffee and tea. So
Thank you.